Welcome to our first post-cabinet briefing in 2018 with our brand new Minister Nomvula Mokonyane. Minister, you are welcomed, and we are about to start. Thank you.
Is it better now? Thanks for the induction. Good morning once more, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the post-cabinet media briefing. The following are the issues that emerge out of the cabinet that was held yesterday here in the city of Cape Town. Firstly, that cabinet appreciates the overwhelming confidence expressed in the 2018 national budget that was tabled in Parliament. In the recent spirit of renewal that has gripped our great nation, Cabinet calls on all South Africans to partner with government to grow our economy and create much-needed jobs. The reduction in expenditure of 85 billion over the next 3 years also demonstrates government's commitment to fiscal consolidation and the prudent allocation of resources to grow the economy. The steps announced to slow the pace of debt accumulation and contain the budget deficit greatly improve our fiscal framework and give South Africans confidence in the future prospects of our economy. Cabinet is also resolute that the interventions will reflect in our country's economic growth, affirm its economic standing, and safeguard its investment-grade status. The 2018 national budget supports the poor in our society through a comprehensive social assistance program and fee-free tertiary education for students from poor households. As a response to the concern raised on the value-added tax increases proposed, Cabinet is also considering expanding the list of basic goods that are zero-rated on VAT. Cabinet joins President Cyril Ramaphosa in his call on South Africans to reaffirm a shared commitment to serve people as we continue to celebrate the centenary of the birth of former President Nelson Mandela. Madiba is the first president of a democratic South Africa and would have turned 100 years of age on the 18th of July, 2018. Madiba is a global icon who's revered worldwide as a champion of human rights, non-racism and non-sexism. Will also be celebrated as a key role player in unifying South Africans and inspiring democratic unity across Africa and the globe. The first celebration of Nelson Mandela's centenary took place during the African Union Summit in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, in January 2018. A number of events will be held throughout the country this year to reflect on the life of Tatu Nelson Mandela, and this will be done together with our own community, civil society, and any other organization that finds it befitting to celebrate the life of this world icon. We call on all South Africans to join in the centenary celebrations in their workplaces, at schools, in churches, and civic organizations. This calls on each one of us this year to emulate the values of Nelson Mandela by working in our respective ways to build a united, non-racist, non-sexist, and prosperous country. The country also celebrates the centenary of one of the great daughters of the African soil, Umamu Albertina Nontsikelelo Sisulu, who dedicated her life to fight for the emancipation of women and the liberation of the people of South Africa and the world. Cabinet will, in the next meeting, also outline a program for the celebration of the centenary of Mamu Albertina Nontsikelelo Sisulu. Cabinet also appreciates the relentless efforts made by the Interministerial Committee on Drought, together with stakeholders in all spheres of government and society, in dealing with the persistent drought conditions that have hit several parts of the country. Apart from the fact that South Africa is a water-scarce country, the effects of global warming continue to affect the rain patterns, thus causing our dam levels to remain low. The Interministerial Task Team on Drought continues to facilitate work between national government, provinces, and municipalities in all drought-affected areas. This includes implementing short, medium and long-term measures to address and mitigate the potential impact of this drought. Government has made funds available, including human capital, to provide short-term assistance to affected provinces. We have also provided a relief grant worth 473 million and an additional 6 billion in the 2018-2019 financial year to augment water infrastructure in the Western Cape, in the Eastern Cape, and in the Northern Cape. Cabinet calls on all of us to continue to work together in conserving water by using it responsibly and sparingly. We remain committed to making South Africa a country of choice for visitors and potential investors alike, precisely because we are managing our water demand side. Cabinet also expresses condolences to the families and friends of the 5 police officers and a former soldier who were recently brutally murdered in an attack on the Ngobo police station in the Eastern Cape. Cabinet strongly condemns any senseless killing of our servicemen and women. The loss of one police officer, soldier, or any other person who serves to protect society and our people is unacceptable. Cabinet is committed, through the Minister of Police, to do whatever possible to capacitate our police stations and prevent such attacks in the future. Cabinet further appeals to parents and society at large to ensure that children are kept safe at all times and to partner with law enforcement agencies to protect the rights of our children. Any form of abuse against a child must be exposed and reported immediately. By working together, we can keep our communities safe and ensure that criminal elements have no place to hide. The following are the Cabinet decisions. Cabinet approved the draft revised white paper on national transport policy that will be published for public comments. The policy aims to provide a transport system that is integrated with other related sector plans so as to reduce both the cost of commuting and doing business. It also aligns the country's transportation plans to the global transportation trends. Cabinet approved the Green Paper on Roads Policy for South Africa to be published as well for public comments. This policy provides the overarching framework that ensures South Africa's roads are better managed, safer, and include all modes of transport to deliver a sustainable approach to roads management. It guides the road regulations, infrastructure, safety, road funding, and non-motorized sport. Cabinet was briefed on the findings of the 2015-2016 National Survey Research and Experimental Development. This is an integral part of the country's socio-economic development approach. It has been a collective effort of government, industry, and research institutions. The report is available on the Department of Science and Technology's website. Cabinet also approved the designs of the 2018 commemorative collector's coin series, which will be produced by the South African Mint Company. The 2018 Designs collection will be celebrating the Nelson Mandela Centenary. These collections were preceded by the 2017 commemorative coins that celebrated South Africa under the theme Freedom, Democracy, and Culture. On the bills, Cabinet approved the submission of the Customary Initiation Bill of 2018 that seeks to protect, promote, and regulate the governance aspect of the practice of customary initiation. Cabinet approved the submission of the National Qualification Framework Amendment Bill that amends the National Qualification Framework Act. Cabinet approved the Railway Safety Bill that seeks to improve railway safety and create governance structure to oversee the work of the Rail Safety Regulator of South Africa. It is also aligned to the National Rail Policy regarding the strengthening of safety monitoring, and the promotion and enforcement of safety in our railways. Cabinet also approved the draft Economic Regulation of Transport Bill that addresses the regulatory and capacity gaps in respect of provision of cost-effective and efficient transport system. The following are the upcoming events that Cabinet also noted and supports. Our country will be hosting the Southern African Development Community Ministers of Labour, Employment and Social Security as chair from the 1st to the 2nd of March 2018 at the Cape Town International Convention Centre. The theme of the conference is Horizon Decent Work, Advancing Connectivity, Coherence and Inclusivity. President Cyril Ramaphosa, in his capacity as the chair of SADC, will undertake consultative visits to Angola, Botswana and Namibia from the 2nd to the 3rd of March 2018. He will be accompanied by the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Minister Lindiwe Sisulu, and Minister of Defense and Military Veterans, Minister Nosiviwe Mapisa Nqakula. South Africa will co-host the 17th World Conference on Tobacco or Health from the 7th to the 9th of March 2018 in Cape Town under the theme Uniting the World for a Tobacco-Free Generation. This is the first hosting in Africa. The World Conference on Tobacco or Health calls for committed action and provides a platform for governments, civil society organizations, United Nations agencies, international organizations, health workers, and other stakeholders to discuss shared knowledge and experiences, particularly regarding to youth and women who are exposed to tobacco. Hosting the conference contributes towards addressing the National Development Plan's goals by creating awareness and education on the harmful effects of tobacco use and the need to intensify tobacco control measures. On the 10th and 11th of March, the IEC will open the voter registration centers for people to come and register and check their registration details. Cabinet urges all eligible voters to visit their voting stations and update the voters' roll in preparation for the 2019 general elections. Cabinet particularly calls on first-time voters to ensure they participate in their constitutional democratic right to vote by going to register to vote. This registration weekend is a milestone towards the culmination of a 2-year project to obtain the residential addresses of all registered voters. The voting stations will be open between 8 and 5 in the afternoon to assist new voters to register to vote and allow registered voters who have relocated to re-register in their correct voting districts where they live and update their address details on the voters' roll. The following are the messages from Cabinet. Cabinet commends all teachers who were honored at the 18th National Teaching Awards that took place in Johannesburg on Saturday, the 17th of February 2018. The awards recognized outstanding teaching and leadership in several categories, including the Nelson Mandela Lifetime Achievement and Professor Kada Asmal's Award. Cabinet conveys its condolences to Deputy Minister Obed Bapela on the loss of his wife, Constance Bapela, who served the country as a councillor at the time of her passing. Cabinet joins President Cyril Ramaphosa in conveying condolences to the family, friends, and associates of the political economist and author, Professor Ioannis Sampieter Blanche, who passed on at the age of 84. Cabinet also congratulates Minister Naledi Pandor on her recognition by Leiden University in the Netherlands as an honorary visiting professor of astronomy and development. This is in recognition of the minister's extraordinary accomplishment in harnessing science, particularly astronomy, as a tool for global development and societal benefit. The following are the appointments that Cabinet has endorsed and approved. All appointments, as we all know, are subject to the verification of qualifications and relevant clearance, including the capacity for the posts that were advertised. Ms. Lerato Matabuche as the Deputy Director General in the Department of Trade and Industry, Ms. Shandogani Masocha as Deputy Director General in the Consumer and Corporate Regulation in the Department of Trade and Industry, Ms. Vuyelwa Vumendlini as Deputy Director General in the Department of National Treasury, Mr. Joseph Tebukoli Shope as Chief Operations Officer of Centec, Ms. Vuyo Zitumani as Chief Executive Officer of Amatola Water, Advocate Sieng Catherine Zabalitele as Chief Ombud of the Community Schemes Ombud Services, Mr. Edward Mamadise as CEO of the National Regulator for Compulsory Specification, Dr. Sagrin Moodley as the representative from the Department of Science and Technology on South African Council for Natural Scientific Professions, and the following are the reappointments to the Patent Examination Board: Ms. Shinaz Mohammed, Ms. Sandra Cleland, Professor Christiana Maria van der Bank, and Advocate Ntlantla Paul Sibisi. This is the end of the Cabinet brief. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Minister. At this point, we will take questions. May I just request, I know that it's the first assignment of the minister. There will be a temptation to ask minister on her previous portfolio. Can we try and confine ourselves to cabinet? It is a post-cabinet briefing. Minister will engage if there are any issues, but can we confine it to the post-cabinet? Can I start with the Pretoria as I usually do? Pretoria, Aya?
As Pumla, we don't have questions as yet.
Thank you. Okay, we are in Cape Town, and I can see the first hand, ENCA, this ANN7A, News 24, sorry. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. It is unfortunately a question about water affairs and sanitation, but maybe the Minister can decide whether she wants to answer it or not. Minister, just your response to the Standing Committee on Public Accounts calling for a full parliamentary inquiry and criminal charges to be laid against you for, in their words, collapsing the Water Affairs and Sanitation Department. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. This are post-cab questions. My first is, I know it's a new cabinet, but were timelines discussed at all for the President's plans to reconfigure the size of the cabinet? Was that discussed at all? My second question is, was the SASSA situation discussed? Are there any updates from the Interministerial Committee, given that there are 30 days left? And lastly, the Ingonyama Trust. The Zulu King has recently called on people to sponsor at least R5 each to battle the court challenge in court. Has Cabinet discussed this issue, and does it have a response to the calls? Thank you.
Thanks, Minister. Just with regards to VAT, did Cabinet, besides discussing expanding the zero rating for products, did you actually look at possibly sort of reducing it even further, let's say make it 0.5 or even scrap it in its entirety? Was that discussed at all? And the second, it relates to the general elections. Are the elections scheduled for April? Thank you.
Thank you very much. On the SCOPA issue, I would rather report and respond on it outside of this. This is a post-cabinet briefing. On the timelines for reconfiguration, no. It was not a subject at the cabinet. SASSA, no, it was not. The Ingonyama Trust issue, no, it was not. And on the possible reduction, what has actually been raised was that we definitely needed to reflect, but also unpack and give more clarity around the issues of VAT. And then one of the key considerations was the addition of items that must also be zero rated.
Just point clarity, so you confirming that it was discussed to reduce the VAT increase of 1%?
No, I'm confirming that there was a reflection on the issues related to VAT, and the only matter that was discussed and agreed upon is the possibility of bringing additional items onto the zero-rated basket.
Could you give some examples? Were any particular examples discussed?
No, we didn't go into details. In fact, National Treasury, together with the relevant ministries, departments, are actually the ones that are going to continue reflecting on that.
Okay. Mr. 24, can I give Yan first, and then I'll come back to you.
Thanks, Minister. Just back to Oh, sorry, Jan, my apologies.
I was saying Yan, sorry, and then it's you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Williams. Minister, was there any timeline given for this possible zero rating of foodstuffs? And just to repeat Wendell's question, which I think is a bit of a chancer, but was the actual date of the election discussed at all?
Okay, that is media 24.
Thanks, Minister. Just to follow up on the SASA question, you said Cabinet didn't discuss the issues, but there has been a change in leadership, especially in the ministries and the presidency. I'd like to know, is the IMC responsible for the issues still in ultimate control of the situation? Does this mean the new minister in the presidency, Dr. Dlamini Zuma, is in fact in charge of that IMC? It's 30 days left, so it is a very pressing issue. Some direction in this regard will be much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Minister, do you want to take two more?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, at the back, and then it's you.
Me.
You? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Jan de Lange from Rapport, Minister. In last year's budget, in the estimates of expenditure under the heading for the Public Enterprises Ministry, it was disclosed that Eskom is expecting a net debt of 8 billion in this current financial year, which ends in a month. And in the next year, which ends in March 2019, it's expecting a net debt of 15 billion. That's 23 billion in 2 years. It's clear that Eskom is bankrupt. It got a loan yesterday that will take care of its cash flow, but it's bankrupt, and it's going to need huge amounts of money in years to come. Can you tell us where is that money going to come from?
Yes, Paul.
Good morning, Minister. Paul Vecchiato from Bloomberg. From what I understand, the first cabinet meeting of the year, your full cabinet meeting, was really administrative, and you approved things like minutes of other cabinet committee meetings and that. Did you approve the minutes of the last cabinet meeting of last year? And could you tell us if the free higher education issue was discussed in that last cabinet meeting at all? Thank you.
Thank you. I think, Minister, we can give the Pretoria the last chance, but I think it's going to be the last round for the Minister. I don't know whether Pretoria, you have something?
We have one question from SA News.
Okay, okay, can we take that one? And then this is going to be the last for Minister.
Thank you. My name is Edwin Chibiza for SA News. Minister, has the Cabinet discussed the future of the Seven Angels Ministry in the Eastern Cape? What? As to whether is it going to be closed down or what?
Thank you. It's over to the Minister.
For the questions once more. The timelines for zero rating, there were no timelines that were raised, but what has been registered is that there is a team of ministers led by the Department of Finance that are going to be looking at the issues and additional inputs that are being made. And once they are ready, because of course they would also be consulting with some structures of civil society, they would then bring back the matters to Cabinet. The IMC on social grants, yesterday Minister Susan Shabangu appeared before the Portfolio Committee in Parliament, and for now she has assumed the responsibility with immediate effect, and the structures of the interministerial committees have not changed, but discussions in Cabinet did not happen. The 30-day lapse, all those issues are noted because, as you remember also, in his State of the Nation address, President Cyril Ramaphosa did indicate that we would have to make sure that nothing gets on the way of normalizing the move now of better management and disbursement of social grants in the system, and I think that's where we are now as Cabinet. Eskom, we should also recall that matter was not in the Cabinet discussion, but I want to remind you also of the priorities that have been pronounced by President Cyril Ramaphosa in SONA around putting together a team that would be looking at the SOEs and other entities that deal with infrastructure and see how best they can actually be assisted and be turned around so that then we are able to deal with these particular matters. As to the bailout for ESCOM, those discussions never came before yesterday's cabinet. They were matters that came 2 cabinet meetings before the budget speech, and hence the pronouncements that were made by the then Minister of Finance in his budget speech. The minutes of last year, all minutes of cabinet gets approved by cabinet once it sits, and we have approved all minutes of cabinet. The details thereof we do not necessarily have, and we shall not divulge because minutes of cabinet are secret. So yeah, all I can tell you is that there's a process in government where you approve minutes and you develop a plan of action in that regard. The 7 angels in the Eastern Cape, yes, that's why we raised the issues around the killing of police. That's why cabinet also made an expression around the rights of children to learn and access to education, because there's a number of children who were kept there who were not necessarily afforded an opportunity to go to school. Yes, the issues of consenting adults, we definitely have to deal with some of the issues that are now under investigation as to the functioning and the activities at that church. And cabinet made that expression and calls on our people to be vigilant and be on the alert, even in places of worship, on some of the things that are happening behind the scenes. The date of elections, for now, we do not necessarily have the exact date of elections, but in terms of the timelines, we know that the IEC has to start making preparations for clearing the voters' roll, updating the voters' roll, and hence they have to do this work at least a year or so, or a year, 6 months before elections, so that then hereafter there can still be also a verification of the voters' roll. So the dates are as yet to be discussed, and they get determined based on the timetable by the IEC, having made all their preparations, and they will then consult the president of the country and make that necessary announcement.
Thank you very much, Minister. We've come to the end of the briefing. And Thabo, why do you wait until we finish? Minister, let's take that one last one.
My apologies, Ms. Pumla. Given what you are, my name is Thabo Mokonyane, Minister. I work for the Sunday Times. Given what you are telling us about what Cabinet discussed on VAT, is this an admission or acknowledgement on the part of Cabinet that the VAT increase was not a well-considered decision, that it underestimated the implications and the reaction from the public in this regard?
Part of what we would be doing is to further explain the issue of VAT, precisely because of how it has also been presented to an extent where it created a lot of confusion. Secondly, it is about getting feedback from South African citizens to say, let's look at other issues, things that are beyond the control of the most vulnerable. Let's look at them. And it is precisely because of that. It's an indication of a listening government. It's a listening government that has received the feedback, but also that appreciates that we have to go further in explaining. And this is part of what GCIS, working together with the relevant ministries, will be going out to explain to the South African nation, so that then there is a better understanding and a better appreciation of why we came into the determination of the increase of VAT, but also what its implications are, and what are the areas that we are going to safeguard. And some of them are quite innovative, and others are actually, demonstrating that we are indeed a caring government that seeks to make sure that we don't punish those that are vulnerable and have no choice.
Thank you very much, Minister. We've come to the end of the briefing, and thank you for coming.